Fish 42 here with another edition of our Coffee at the Fish. Today we are with our glass resin artist, Trish Thompson. Hey Trish, how are you?
I'm very good. Thanks for having me, Meg.
Absolutely. You got your coffee. Yours is very nautical.
It is. It's a beach scene. I got it for a retirement gift from a friend of mine, one of my beach girls.
I love it. I love it. Well, here's to you. And ooh, that was strong. And so today let's talk a little bit about your art, which is, by the way, is behind me. So you can see Trish does a lot of glass and resin. But now Trish, first of all, I've seen a lot of glass and resin works, and yours has a different feel to it. Why do you think that is? Like, I've seen some that are just very simple. Mm-hmm. Have a lot of detailing.
I kind of interpret the way I do it now as painting with glass. Originally, this got started. I was a high school teacher and I taught a crafts class, and some of my special ed kids were struggling when we were doing stained glass, which I respect tremendously because I don't enjoy it, because you have to be very exact with your cutting, and it's much more involved than people realize. And there's a lot of math that's involved, and we had to modify. And some of my kids had trouble cutting the glass, so we started to work with hammers. And from there, we decided to start with glass mosaics. And then from there on, we did them on vases, we did them on potted plants, all different surfaces. And we used to do with grout and cement, and even the garden stones that we used to put in the ground with the cement and the foam. And I just happened to look up what else I could do with glass, and I came across resin, never did it before, and said, let's see if this works. And I fell in love with it, and it's what I do, and it's what I love.
And you really do it well. I mean, you have developed quite a following because your pieces are so different from others that I've seen. I mean, and I'm going to get back to your pieces in a minute, but I want to go back to the fact that you were an art teacher. Now, you were an art teacher for how long?
For 38 years with subbing in the West Haven school system.
Wow. And so, I know you said you looked up the glass and stuff, but you really had to be kind of versed in all different types of mediums and modalities, right?
Absolutely. The curriculum would go from painting to ceramics to drawing to pen and ink to fiber art to glass. So yeah, it was a pretty big spectrum.
Yeah.
But this particular, working with this, you pretty much follow all the steps that a stained glass person goes through in terms of cutting the glass, grinding the glass. The difference is I don't use any patterns. So I will use my sketchbook and come up with an idea, and then I will just cut the glass. And then it becomes almost like a jigsaw puzzle. If I have an open space, how do I cut the next piece to fit into that open negative space? So it's like, it's very good for your mind because it keeps you really have to think it through, and you make mistakes.
And I've seen your sketchbook before, and I was like, she is not going to make that into a piece. And yeah, you do.
Sometimes it comes out a little different, but I usually have an image in my head. Yeah.
But isn't that it with anything in art? Like, you have something in your head, but what comes out is like it kind of becomes organically it's like organically changed, and you get influenced, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And sometimes it's a piece of glass and the color of the glass that I say, oh my God, wouldn't that be a beautiful sunset? Or it might be a piece of jewelry that I could take apart and put in a mermaid's hand and say, oh, that would be such a cool treasure that somebody would find at the bottom of the sea. So a lot of different factors just kind of fly in there.
Yeah, well, that's a great segue, because let's talk about your mermaids. Now, you're kind of known for your mermaids, and why don't you tell everyone kind of what goes into your mermaid creations?
I hand sculpt all my mermaids. I do not use commercial molds, so therefore my girls will never look the same. Some have big bottoms and some have big boobs. Some have flowing hair. And sometimes it's the frame, who could fit in this frame? So I might redesign the girls to either sit on a rock or to swim, or because of the antiqueness of the frame, I might want them to just sit and think and ponder. But they're all hand sculpted and they're baked. I use Sculpey clay. I've tried a lot of different clays, but that one for me seems to work the best.
And you have some pictures, don't you, of your mermaids?
I do.
Oh, I love this one.
And this is a really unique one because I cannot duplicate this one. It is fairly large and it is narrow. I contemplate should it one day live in my own house above my sliding glass door. But there are 4 girls and they have treasures in their hands. All the shells at the base of my pieces, whenever you see them, I grind them in a meat grinder. So I collect them, I bleach them, and then I bleach them again naturally in the sun. And then I put them through an old-fashioned meat grinder. I'm on my 2nd meat grinder now, and crush all my shells so that I don't buy, commercial things to put in it either. And any of the rocks that they're seated on are mostly from Woodmont because they have the best slate stones that seem to work the best in my artwork.
And do you have a close-up of, do you have a close-up of any of the girls? All right, so that is all hand done.
Yes.
And so you said you take out like jewelry and you're known for like putting little fun things in there that you wouldn't expect, or like little charms.
I try to hide the charms in the sand.
Yeah.
I'm down to about 3 baby shark teeth left. I generally don't put those in my artwork except for the very large pieces.
While we're here, why don't we take a look at a couple of other pieces that you have as well. I know like you have a boating background.
Mm-hmm.
And that you tend to do some regattas and things like that, correct?
Correct. This was my childhood. Growing up, we belonged to was known as, it still is, the Prospect Fishing Game Club in West Haven, across from the firehouse. And every Sunday we had sailboat races, and they were just small boats. And every Sunday, my brother and all of his friends were in the upper tier, and he was very good and generally would win. And every Sunday I kept trying, even though I never won. And my father would say, "Get out there." And I'd say, "Okay, but I'm going to have to tack in and someone's going to have to come get me." The sad thing is now when you go by, you generally see a lot of jet skis. You don't see a lot of sailboats, except for Milford still has in the harbor. You could still see big, beautiful sailboats once in a while. And it is just, it's more natural. It's kind of sad that it's not really a part of the natural environment of the water.
Yeah. Oh, well, they're absolutely beautiful. And then I know we have some others that we'll show in a little bit. So what have you been working on? I know you've been working with a very special young lady.
Mm-hmm. One of my former students, Gabby Murillo, she is from West Haven. Last year, she was in an accident where she was rear-ended by a gentleman, and she is now a quadriplegic. So on Wednesdays from 1 to 4, I would go to Gabby's house and we did mouth painting, and we've done mouth painting on ornaments, wine glasses, and we started to work with a series of greeting cards in hopes that Gabby might someday make a living for herself as well. Now we're doing it through FaceTime. It's not the same. Plus I love seeing her. And I also work with Tori Lavery, who's another former student, and Tori works with us as well. But I have found through Gabby's experience, I would paint whatever I thought would be best for her, in terms of challenging and what she's capable, because she's growing as well. And if you look at this picture, it was a porcupine that eventually I redid it in glass, and I was excited because Gabby is now influencing my artwork. I've done things with bees for her, and it's been fun. It's been we're learning from each other, but we're also influencing each other.
Well, I love that. I mean, it's truly is. I mean, you never stop learning as an artist. You never stop learning. You are constantly growing, things like that. That is so. And speaking of growing, I mean, so you came to Artfish 42
4 years ago.
years ago. Oh my God, did that fly or what?
Yeah.
And I mean, I remember when you came in, you were like, oh, and I looked at your artwork, which at that time I still thought was very beautiful. Your pieces were beautiful, but you tended to do a little smaller, the smaller,
Much more. Yeah.
much more like 5x7, maybe 8x10 if we were lucky. And I look at where you were there, which was still beautiful pieces and still very much your own, to where you are now. And the growth, it's amazing.
Thank you.
And as I said, you've gotten quite a following as well.
And I have to, thank the environment that I'm in with you guys, because being nautical to a fault and having to try new things, when you would say, what about florals or what about fruit? And I would never think to try it because it wasn't what I was drawn to. And in the end, some of my flowers, like the daisies, I really started to fall in love with doing daisies for a little while. So I've grown because of other people and being around like-minded artists who say, well, have you ever tried? And it definitely has helped.
And I think that is one of the things about Artfish, like, it's a nice little community. And you see behind me here, these are some of the flowers that she was talking about. And I'm hoping that you can see them on, that they show up on here. And, we have their mermaids and things like that. But your flowers have been beautiful. Your lavender flowers are stunning. They really are. And and again, it is kind of the beach stuff, but like your beach huts and your even if it's within that nautical range, and it's the intensity and the I don't want to say difficulty level, but it's like they're more involved.
Yes.
Now.
Yeah.
And even if you took like a piece that you did back then, and then did the same piece now, it's like night and day. It's so cool. I love it. And you've also been doing some other pieces, if you would share, like your heart, the rainbows, and you do a lot of hearts as well. I know you've done some tin hearts stuff.
And this one has a special name. Someone you introduced me to, and I call it my Thomas. And he had told his story of being a struggle that he had as a young boy. And it was very, it was hurtful to me to hear what he had to go through as a kid. So this is my tribute to him, and I call it my Thomas.
I love it. It's beautiful. It really is. And it's gotten a lot of attention, I mean, you've also tackled, like I know you've tackled the fire trucks, and I mean, like you're pushing yourself. You push yourself. That
I can say, and I've learned from what I don't enjoy.
Isn't that the truth?
It's one of a kind, because you're never going to see them again, and that's why I don't do stained glass. Things that are, it's much more difficult to do things that are geometric versus organic. I don't have the same freedom, and because you can't cut circles, you can't cut glass circles, so you're never going to get that symmetry that you want. So it is a bigger struggle than people realize. Yeah.
Well, then here's to that.
Yeah, here's to that, and you may never see them again.
Oh my God.
I will show you the piece, though. I have not been able to dedicate it yet, but it is for the Shelton Fire Department. It's kind of to pay homage to the 4 volunteer houses. And again, this was a struggle.
Wow.
Yeah. So they opened up a restaurant, and I was going to, because in the restaurant, it's all memorabilia of our local volunteer firehouses, and people have donated like their grandfather's pictures, and it's a really cool place. So I wanted to donate that, but with the whole shutdown thing, it just never happened.
Yeah, well, it will reopen soon, but that looks pretty intricate. That's for sure. And have you been doing a lot of work lately? Have you been?
The one I finished 2 pieces, 3 pieces now, and I started to paint more. But in the beginning, when the quarantine happened, it was listening to other people. My husband was crazy, and this is it, doom and gloom, and I was kind of like, stop it, relax. And then I realized it was a little bit more intense. But the way I looked at it, with this piece, if you look at this was a bracelet that I took apart, and in each of the tiles, one of them says, everything shapes us, trust the journey, dear you, it is truly going to be all right. And that was something that I said to myself. And unleashing your joy was, well, what else can I do? I don't have a lot of frames. I don't have everything I need that I want to work with. So I started painting again and embracing the change, knowing that, it is going to be a little different, and who knows what it will be in the end. But I did the tree because we are all growing from this experience. Hopefully we are going to still rebirth our families. Most of us are very, very lucky because my family is still intact. My mom's going to be 88 next week. There is a stone path because there was no clear path. And some of the information I felt we were given was not clear and steady, and there was no solid road to follow. But yet I still wanted the river because I still believe that I am a spiritual person and that life is going to go on, and that we have to flow with the tide and see where we're going to be in the end. And I love trees. I always had a favorite tree growing up because in the fall it looked like it was on fire. And I always look at that as growth, that it's going to be okay.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%.
So that to me was a very personal piece. I feel like it's a historical piece of artwork because it is truly reflective of the time. The last tile said side by side, because we all had not that we were all in the same boat, because we're not. We're in the same storm, but not the same boat. But we all have to do what we're supposed to do and be responsible and respect other people's lives. So together, this is why it worked, a better outcome than it could have been.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100% on that. So, and Trish, with that, is there anything else you would like to say?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then thank you so much. I think everyone has learned a lot more about your work, which is here at Artfish 42. And at home, if you will write down below, subscribe, hit the bell. When you hit the bell, every time we do a new video, it will pop up, and so you will get notification. Like it, interact. It helps with our algorithms. We're trying to grow. And please look at artfish42.com. Our e-commerce is open. Artfish42 at Artfish42 Instagram and Facebook. And we appreciate you watching this. Trish, thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you very much, Meg. Thanks for being part of it.
We will see you soon. All right. Bye-bye.